I lost 110 pounds and went from this to this. Now, if you're stuck with fat that won't budge, then here are 25 fat loss lessons that I wish I had so that I could lose fat faster. Starting with number one, do not, under any circumstance whatsoever, go on a restrictive crash diet. I don't care if you think your metabolism is slow. I don't care if you think you have bad genetics, and I don't care if you think that you're an endomorph, because the fact of the matter is that this mistake alone is responsible for at least 6 months of wasted time on my fat loss journey. Because when I first started trying to lose weight, I would follow a diet of boiled chicken breast, white rice, and vegetables 4 days out of 7. But what do you think happens on the other 3 days? On the other 3 days of the week, I had such a massive desire to go back and eat my favorite foods that I would go and eat the ice cream, and I would go eat the chocolate, and I would eat twice as much as I would normally eat. And so I didn't lose any fat. And on top of that, none of the people that I've worked with to lose weight, and none of my friends that have lost weight and kept it off, have followed a restrictive crash diet, because it's not sustainable in the long run, so it doesn't really make a difference. And this is exactly why I have in-depth information on how to set up a diet for fat loss inside of my Minimalist fitness program that you can join by clicking the top link in the description. Now, this next lesson is the biggest reason that people quit fat loss. So one massive misconception about fat loss is that if you want to lose fat, then you need to spend the majority of your time in the gym on treadmills, on a Stairmaster, or maybe doing the elliptical. Now, I personally believed this for a very long time, and it held me back and halted my fat loss progress significantly. So the reason that you want to avoid high impact cardio like the Stairmaster or running or jogging on the treadmill is because all of these movements take a toll on your body. And we don't want any toll on our body, specifically our joints and stuff, from cardio, because we want that to come from weight training, which I'm going to talk about in lesson number 4. Because the truth is that while the human body is very remarkable, it has limits. And specifically for us, if we're going to do things the minimalist way, we don't want to be sore 6 days a week, sometimes from cardio and other times from weight training. Now, if you genuinely enjoy doing high impact stuff like running, for me that's playing tennis, some people are crazy about pickleball, everyone and their mother wants to play pickleball now, then it's fine. You don't have to cut it out, just keep it in moderation. Now, lesson number 3 is short and sweet. Weigh yourself in the morning every day after you wake up. Now, this is one of the most underrated hacks to losing weight that nobody in the fitness industry talks about for some reason. Now, my fat loss was actually very inconsistent because I was going off of what I was seeing in the mirror. And when you get very lean, yes, you can go off the mirror and that's going to give you a more accurate assessment of your fat loss. But when you're starting out, or even if you're just like an intermediate, here's the thing. The mirror can be misleading at times. So around about halfway through my fat loss journey, when I lost about 50 to 60 pounds, I started basing my fat loss off of what I saw in the mirror. And this isn't a bad idea for when you get very lean and you don't really have a lot of fat on your body. That's when the mirror is going to be a better assessment of how much fat you're losing than the weighing scale. But the mirror could be very misleading for you because say one day you wake up and you're dehydrated and you're like, oh my God, I've lost a lot of fat, I've got a flat tummy. And the other day you have a little bit more salt and then you get slightly bloated and then you're like, oh my God, I've gained all the fat back. That's not really fat, so you can't go off of the mirror all that much. Now, just a fair warning, if you're starting out completely fresh, then even the scale can be slightly off, so take it with a pinch of salt. But as long as you follow the rest of the lessons that I'm going to give you, you're going to lose fat anyways. Now, this next lesson is going to be the most underrated and unspoken about contributor to your fat loss. And that lesson is to simply lift weights. So for some reason, when you go on the internet looking for fat loss advice, you're told about every diet under the sun. The Atkins diet, the carnivorous diet, the keto diet. Everybody wants to emphasize diet and running endlessly on the treadmill, but nobody seems to be talking about lifting weights and how important it is. Now, to give you some context, if I didn't lift weights on my fat loss journey and try to lose weight without lifting weights, I would look like this instead of this. Now, a problem that you're probably going to experience when it comes to going to the gym and working out is time constraints, which is where lesson number 5 comes in. Now, something about going to the gym that isn't really talked about all that much is that it can get time consuming. So for me personally, I live a very active life outside of the gym, so I cannot afford to spend 6 days a week in there for 2 hours at a time. And so I found, or rather rediscovered, a method of training that only requires you to train 3 to 4 times a week from 45 minutes to an hour. And I've gotten into the best shape of my life, full stop, doing this method. And I've helped others do the same. Now, simply put, minimalism is where you focus largely on the quality of your workouts and not so much on the quantity of your workouts. Now, this means that you're going to reduce gym time and gym frequency, but you're going to get the same results, or in my case, even better results, because you're going to train with intent and you're going to follow a structured program. Now, lesson number 6 is going to save you a shit ton of money, and it is to simply just not buy supplements. So more specifically, you want to avoid any supplements that claim to boost fat loss or testosterone. Those are the two biggest supplements that get money out of men's pockets and give them nothing in return. Now, if you do want to get supplements, I definitely recommend getting creatine. It's worth the money, maybe some vitamins, but in general, you cannot rely heavily upon supplements. In fact, you can't rely on them at all. They're not the cake. They're not the icing on the cake. They're the cherry on top of the cake. Lesson number 7 is to be careful with condiments. This is one of the biggest silent killers of fat loss progress. The biggest reason as to why that is because it's extremely easy to measure these condiments wrong. So a tablespoon of peanut butter is meant to have 190 calories, but look at what it says in there, in the brackets. It says 33 grams. So this much peanut butter has 190 calories. Now let's see how many calories a heaped tablespoon of peanut butter has. Now you see the difference that makes? All of these calories add up over time and make fat loss damn near impossible, and I know that because I've been there. Before I started trying to lose weight, I used to eat Oreos dipped in Nutella, and I'd eat like 10 of those a day, but we're not going to talk about that all that much. Now, lesson number 8 is to be careful with oil in your food. This is probably an even bigger killer of fat loss than condiments because more people use oil than people using condiments. And on top of that, oil, whether it be olive oil, sunflower oil, avocado oil, it doesn't really matter what oil you're using. It's one of the most calorically dense foods on the planet. 1 tablespoon of olive oil has 120 calories. 2 or 3 of those a day, and most people use way more than 2 or 3. But just 2 or 3 of those every day, and there's your fat loss progress gone down the toilet. Lesson number 9 is to be careful with liquid calories. Now, stuff like milkshakes you should already know is loaded with a shitload of calories. But one other thing is soda. I don't understand why people struggle with soda all that much, especially now that we've got these diet alternatives that taste pretty much exactly like the original thing, but have 0 calories. So watch out for soda and milkshakes, but also watch out for the coffee that you drink because coffee isn't, so I thought that coffee was just meant to be black coffee with a little bit of creamer and some sugar. But apparently the coffee from McDonald's is like 600, 700 calories. Bro, avoid that. Now, lesson number 10 is going to be all about workouts. When most people look for workouts on the internet, they get it all wrong. They look for workouts that best hit their goal. So for example, if my goal was to lose belly fat, I'd look for the best workout to lose belly fat. And if my goal was to get toned, I'd look for the best workout to get toned. But that is the complete opposite of what you should be doing. Because when you look for the best workout to do anything, you end up finding a workout and then you have to mold your life around that workout program. But what you should be doing instead is finding a workout program that you can mold around your life. And if you can just do that one thing, I promise you that fitness is never going to be a problem for you ever in your life again. Now, a workout program has to have 3 things in order for it to be considered good. Number 1 is sustainability. Can you do this workout program for the rest of your life? Now, for me personally, like I said before, 6 days a week, 2 hours at a time, working out is just not possible. So for me to follow a 6-day split, even for a week, would be pointless. The second thing a workout program has to have in order for it to be considered good is it has to be effective. Is it actually growing muscle, or are you just doing exercise for the sake of doing exercise? Are you doing a bunch of random wacky exercises that you've seen done by influencers on Instagram, or are you doing tried and tested movements that have been proven to get results? The third thing a workout program has to have in order for it to be considered good, now this is specifically important to people who don't have all day to spend in the gym, such as myself and probably you, and that is the workout program has to be efficient. So it has to be a workout program that you can follow for the rest of your life that's going to build you a lot of muscle, but it's not going to take a lot of your time. The third part, like the efficiency of workouts, isn't something that I see talked about pretty much at all in the mainstream fitness industry, which is why inside of my Minimalist fitness program, I include specific knowledge on how to craft time-efficient workouts that build a lot of muscle. Now, lesson number 11 is all about losing fat in a specific area of your body. Now, unfortunately, there's no such thing as spot reduction when it comes to fat loss, which means that you can't specifically target fat in any area of your body. So if I do shitload of crunches every day and expect to lose fat only from my belly. That's not going to happen. Same for if I've got a lot of chest fat and I do a bunch of push-ups, I'm not going to lose fat specifically in my chest. If you want to lose fat from your chest or your belly, you're going to have to lose fat overall from all around your body. And I'm going to show you how to do that using a diet that I'm going to help you set up later in the video. Now, lesson number 12 is to roughly measure everything that you eat. Now, when I say roughly measure, yes, I mean eyeball it, but at the same time, something that you've got to keep in mind is that if you've never tracked your food before, then your eyeball estimates are going to be way off. And to give you some context, when I was eating Oreos dipped in Nutella, I thought that I was on a 2,500 calorie diet, whereas now, with all the knowledge that I have, I know that I was more likely on a 4,500 calorie diet. Lesson number 13, find a way to track your movement on a daily basis, whether it be through a Fitbit, an Apple Watch, or even the health app in your iPhone. Or if you're weird, your Android. Now, the reason that it's so important that you track your movement is because if you don't track something, then you don't really care about it. And that's not me. That's something that my mentor, Alex Ramosi, says. And that can apply to everything. If you don't track what you eat, you don't care about what you eat. If you don't track your workouts, you don't care about your workouts. If we don't track your movement, you don't care about your movement. And the reason that you should care about your movement, as we all know, is because in order for us to lose fat, we have to move more, eat less. But if you don't know exactly how much you're moving, then you might overestimate your movement, which is going to make fat loss a lot harder. Now, after you find out exactly how much you're moving on a daily basis, which I bet is going to surprise you, lesson number 14 is to gradually increase your movement until it hits a good number that you can sustain. Notice how I said a high number that you can sustain instead of just giving you a blanket number like 10K steps every day. Now, yes, 10K steps every day can help you lose weight, but there's no like holy book of fat loss that says less than 10K steps every day means that you're not going to lose any weight. No, it's just, are you moving more and are you eating less? That can be achieved through 8,000 steps. It can be achieved through 7,000 steps. Most people recommend 10,000 just so that you're safe. But if you are completely sedentary, I don't recommend going from completely sedentary, working a desk job, to then going every day I'm going to hit 10K steps. No, you're not going to be able to sustain it. Increase it gradually. Number 15, now this is going to shock a lot of people, but the fact of the matter is, when it comes to fat loss, sugar is not the enemy. You've probably seen those videos on the internet where they go, I quit sugar for 30 days and this happened. I quit sugar for 3 months and this happened, and they end up losing a bunch of weight in the video. The fact of the matter is, the reason that they're losing weight isn't because they're cutting out sugar. It's because they're cutting out the excess calories that come from sugar, which is causing them to then lose weight. If they were to cut out protein from their diet, which we all know is important, they would still lose weight because even protein has calories. It's not really the reduction of sugar that caused them to lose weight. It's the reduction of calories. And I know this because halfway through my fat loss journey, when I figured out how to actually set up a proper fat loss diet, I ate ice cream almost every night and still ended up looking like this. Now, lesson number 16 is all about carbohydrates. You need carbohydrates in your diet for energy. Do not cut them out of your diet. So I don't care what you've heard about the carnivorous diet, and I don't care what you've heard about the ketogenic diet. The fact of the matter is that carbohydrates are king when it comes to energy supply for your body. When I cut carbs, even by a little bit, I can tell that I'm not as energetic during my workouts or when I play tennis. So don't cut carbs out of your diet unless you want to feel like shit on a regular basis. Now, lesson number 17 is all about protein. Now, most people struggle to get enough protein in their diet, and that's because they overcomplicate things. All you've got to do is find 2 to 3 protein sources that you genuinely enjoy eating, and then just rotate them. The reason that most people struggle with getting enough protein in through their diet is because they've got their idea of what a perfect diet looks like through Instagram influencers who have fancy breakfasts every day because they have the time to spend an hour and a half in the kitchen every day to get the perfect looking food so that they can take a photo, upload it onto Instagram, and get views and likes. But for people like you and me, we don't really have time to do that. So for us, the better option is to just find 2 to 3 protein sources that we enjoy eating and just rotate them on a daily basis. For me, almost every day I'm eating either chicken breast, ground beef, or Greek yogurt. Now I'm gonna need a whiteboard for lesson number 18. Now for lesson number 18, it's all about daily calorie consumption. So to figure out how many calories you need to eat in order for you to lose weight, take your body weight in pounds and multiply from numbers starting from 10 all the way up to 14. Now, which number you multiply your body weight with depends heavily upon how active you are. I play tennis, sometimes even pickleball, and I like walking. So I might multiply my body weight by 13 or even 14. But if you're a desk worker and you know you can't hit a lot of steps every day and you just can't move because you're that busy, I might multiply my body weight by 11 or 12. 10 would be an extreme case scenario. I'd be careful with 10, but 10 can still work. Now, lesson number 19 is to leverage caffeine for fat loss. I drink a cup of coffee pretty much every single day in the morning, and that helps suppress my appetite and give me energy and also the will to live sometimes. But caffeine is actually a really strong appetite suppressant. The only thing I recommend is don't overdo it because it might affect sleep, and I'm going to talk about sleep in a minute. But as long as you have caffeine, I'd say 90 minutes to an hour after waking up, it shouldn't make you feel tired. So you shouldn't have a crash as long as you a crash as long as you delay caffeine intake 90 minutes to 2 hours after waking up. And as long as you don't have it in the afternoon, it shouldn't interfere with sleep. Now, lesson number 20 is all about how much water you're drinking. You want to attempt to drink at least 4 liters of water every single day. Speaking of which, so drinking a lot of water can keep you hydrated and make it easier for you to lose weight, but it can also help you lose weight by staying fuller because say for example, if I was to have 10 big gulps of water right before I was to go sit down and eat my food, I would not eat as much food as I would have eaten if I didn't drink that water. So it kind of suppresses appetite, not really suppresses your appetite, but it just takes up space in your belly so that you're not eating as much food, so it can just prevent overeating. Now, lesson number 21 is all about getting 8 hours of sleep every night. Here's the thing. I know you've already heard this and you're sick of hearing it, but the fact of the matter is, if you're not going to sleep enough, not only are you going to struggle to lose fat, you're also going to struggle to build muscle. And guess what? Even if you do somehow end up losing weight through just grinding and gritting your teeth and just staying hungry and having a sucky life, even if you do lose weight, a lot of that weight is going to be muscle, not fat. And we do not want that, remember? Because we don't want to look like this and we want to look like this. So get 8 hours of sleep every night. Quick tips on you to get better sleep. Avoid blue light before you sleep. Avoid caffeine intake close to bed. And have a cold, dark room. Lesson number 22. Fat loss is a hobby, not a full-time job. So if you find yourself constantly obsessing about fat loss and having to think too much about it, then just know that you're doing something wrong. Because right now, I'm losing fat pretty much on autopilot mode because I have the right strategy in place. So every time that you're stressed about whether or not you're going to lose enough weight, I want you to tell yourself, hey, I don't have the right strategy in place. I'm doing something wrong, because fat loss should be on autopilot mode as long as you've got the right system set up to where your diet doesn't have to be thought about all that much, your workouts don't have to be thought about all that much, because you should already have a plan set in place. You shouldn't be thinking about it while and as you're doing it. Lesson number 23 is actually more on the rest and recovery side of things. Find a way to rest and recover that is unique and specific to you. There's no perfect way to rest and recover. Do not listen to the people on the internet that ask you to take cold showers and ice baths to recover, because that's not going to help me recover. That's going to traumatize me even more, and I'm going to start to hate recovery. Recovery is basically, for me, it's relaxation. It might be hanging out with family, going out on a date, or maybe just having a warm shower. That could be recovery. And recovery is really important because after enough time, fat loss can get excruciating, not just physically, but also mentally. So it's crucial that you have a set routine that you do to unplug. For me, it's watching movies and spending time with family. For you, it might be, I don't know, just taking a week off at the gym. That's something that I do too. But this is different for everyone, and to find out what it is for you, the only way is trial and error. Now, lesson number 24 is to eat at least 0.85 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Otherwise, as you lose weight, you risk losing muscle. Now, I'm sure that you've heard that you need to have 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight if you want to build muscle. And that, while that isn't wrong, it's not necessarily true, because you can build muscle just fine eating as little as 0.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight. But the truth is that while 0.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight can work just fine, we want to be on the safe side of things, right? But rather safe than sorry. But refer back to lesson number 17 if you struggle with getting your protein in. Okay, so the camera ran out of battery and I'm not gonna set up the entire camera tripod thing, so I'm just holding this camera up and giving you lesson number 25. So lesson number, hopefully this isn't too shaky. So lesson number 25, if you wanna lose fat, is to ignore most of the mainstream advice that you get. Now, if you've been paying attention, most of the lessons that I gave you out of the 24 that I've given you so far haven't been telling you exactly what to do, they've been telling you what to avoid. And this is because I specifically spend a lot of time following the advice of mainstream fitness influencers who told me to adopt this extremist and maximalist approach to fitness. And it really slowed my progress down and also made my life pretty damn miserable since I was spending the majority of it inside the gym and counting calories. So although some of these influencers give out some valuable advice, on average, I would say that it would be safe to assume that most of their advice doesn't apply to you. Now, if you want to learn how to lose fat and get ripped using a minimalist approach, then you can click the top link in my description and join my minimalist fitness program. Or you could watch another one of my videos about fat loss by clicking up here. I'll see you in the next one.